Hi, good morning and welcome to a meditation. Today is the 16th of February. I would like to read in Proverbs chapter 17 and verse 3. See, the crucible for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tests the heart. Our text from Isaiah chapter 48 verse 10 is going to guide us today in our meditation. See, I have refined you through not as silver, though not as silver, I have tested you in the furnace of affliction. We know that the people of Judah was sent to Babylon for 70 years in what we call a deportation, and some people see in that deportation the end of idolatry in the kingdom of Judah. Just before, the nation of the 12 tribes were in the desert between Egypt and Canaan for 40 years. 40 years in the desert. And that's what God is calling here in the book of Isaiah, the affliction, the tribulation. We have got a text in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 12 where Paul is going to teach us a very, very important lesson when we are talking about affliction and tribulation. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That's why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. So what happened before these two verses that led Paul to say what he's saying here? He was actually talking in the beginning of 2 Corinthians chapter 12 about the revelations that he received from God. He's going to talk in the third person when he's saying, I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago was caught up to the third heaven. Whether it was in the body or out of the body, I do not know. God knows. And I know that this man, whether in the body or apart from the body, I do not know, but God knows, was caught up to paradise and heard inexpressible things that no one is permitted to tell. I will boast about a man like that, but I will not boast about myself except about my weaknesses. Even if I should choose to boast, I would not be a fool, because I would be speaking the truth. But I refrain, so no one will think more of me than is warranted. But what do I say? Or because of this surpassing great revelations, what should I say? He's saying here. Therefore, in order to keep me from becoming conceited, I was given a thorn in my flesh. We don't know what that thorn is, but Paul says here in verse 8 that he prayed 3 times. He pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me, but he didn't. And then in the answer to Paul from God is my grace is sufficient. Migration is sufficient for you. It's through Paul that we learn about what it is justification by faith in the book of Romans. It is through him that we know what is going to happen when the Lord comes back by reading 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. It is through Paul that we understand that we were chosen in Christ before the foundation of the world. It is through Paul in the book of Colossians that we know that Christ in us is the hope of glory. So that man received many revelations from God, and he wrote them. He sent these letters to these different churches, different people, to talk about this revelation that he received from God. Fighting heresy, proclaiming the gospel, the eternal gospel of Jesus Christ. Lots of revelations. And then he says, but God put a thorn in my flesh, so I wouldn't glorify myself, but I would be dependent on God's glory, on God's grace. So sometimes God is going to lead us through persecution, through difficult times, to prove us, to test us, to purify us, and to show us that his grace is sufficient for us. God bless you.